So when I can just say one more time, welcome in our exhibition about the history of the human zoos, especially the history of the human zoos here in Dresden. It's actually the first time that there's an exhibition which goes that deep in the history of a Dresden example. And this was also quite a problem for us in the beginning, because there wasn't any material or bigger studies which dealt with the example of Dresden regarding the human zoos. So we just had to find out what can we do, how can we prepare the whole exhibition, and what would it mean if we want to present it to the public, and why should we present it to the public. So it's actually something our director, which one time came new to the museum, tried to develop. We wanted to have new subjects in our exhibition program. Before it was quite traditional about economic history or something else, or cultural history. And how could we get, for example, new audience in the museum? How could we deal with actual debates? And especially colonialism is something which a lot of museums deal at the moment with, and also other institutions. And there are a lot of question marks for the city of Dresden, especially also around the example of human zoos. So in the beginning, we already had to deal with a problem, which information can we use? And because of that, we decided not to start with the exhibition itself, but to produce a book and to get all of the knowledge together, which we could then use as a base to produce the exhibition. So I guess some of you already have the book. I can just show it one more time, which was processed one time. So the book MenschenAnSchauen was the start for us to get some more information. And especially the problem for us was we didn't know how important was the fact that human zoos have taken place in Dresden. How many took place here, and which is still something we really don't know, because we started now with one example, that's the human zoos at the Dresden Zoo. But there were several other locations in the town where also human zoos took place. But this is something we still have to find out how many, where, who was responsible, and which networks were back then. And so this is still something which needs more investigation, more scientific sources, and so on. So this is also something we set at a base here for the later on exhibition, that this would first be a first step, an invitation to the public, to science, to deal with this problem and to find out are there more information, can we find more sources, and so on. So this is also something we tried to introduce here and to use for the scenography of the whole exhibition. It's a kind of a workshop. It's work in progress, and we didn't want it to have an exhibition super designed, and because of that, we just had this rough design for the exhibition with a lot of tables reminding of, okay, we are still working with the subject, and just can give you the option to inform yourself, and maybe to develop new questions and ideas how to deal with the problem. Especially also what the further deal with the memory of colonial subjects and of the human zoos here in Dresden should be. Because that's something which still isn't discussed in the Dresden society. So this is just a first step, and we try to just give a first step for that. And we also wanted to invite the public, communities and so on to take part in this exhibition. And as you can see here in the beginning and later on also at some other parts in the exhibition, they use those small cards where we have a possibility to comment both the whole exhibition, special parts of the exhibition, or items which are presented. And it's quite interesting which responses we get. We, of course, decide in a way which cards shall be presented as far as they are democratic, not racist, then we can get presented. The other ones will just be deleted. So maybe this as an introduction. And we also had a problem in the beginning that we ourselves, as the team which curated the exhibition, was completely white. And we didn't manage to get someone in this curatorial team with a POC background. And but we actually got support from Josefina Praku, who already several times supported museums in the conception and discussion of the exhibition in before. And this was a great help to find ourselves or to have another look at items. And to get knowledge of special problems you don't see as a white person, and this was quite necessary for ourselves too. So this may be as an introduction to how this process was. And while the book deals with the history both of exhibition of people because of their origin, of several parts of the world, plus the presentation of people because they were not the norm, too small, too big, too, I don't know, bearded or something else. We decided to just focus in the exhibition on the presentation of those human zoos because the people came of a special country, region or something like that. Because we also decided to focus on problems of racism and stereotypes and the other things because you are grown not enough. These are some other problems we didn't want to mix here in the exhibition. So that's a difference to actual book here in the exhibition. So maybe you can just follow me in the first part. So something we tried to present in the exhibition is, on the one hand, the example of the Dresden Zoo, where there had been human zoos in between 1878 and the 1930s. But there are also traces more back in the history. So we had some examples of presenting people because of their origin, for example, at the Saxon court. Of course, in the 17th and 18th century, this was quite common at most of the courts in Europe to have people, mostly servants, in different kind of positions, which would represent, or who would represent some exotic view. And we tried to give some examples how this was the preface of that would later on would be a kind of industrial presentation of people. So we have some examples here. Mostly we have a problem that we know maybe a name, that we have a picture, but there aren't any more information about the individual people. That's something we always have in the discussion of human zoos, that there's maybe a whole group, but who's the individual? What biography have we back there? Since we mostly have a lack of other sources, for example, self-written biography or something like that, or letters or other diaries or something like that, we actually don't know the perspective of the people who had been shown for different reasons. So this is, for example, the case with Peter August, who also was at the Saxon court. We know that he came from the region Russia, Mongolia. We don't know when he came to Dresden. We don't know how long he had been here. It has to be assumed that he got baptized here because Peter August is, of course, no name typical for a region he came from. And but this is everything we know. So this is one of those question marks if anyone is there who wants to study and go on with the sources to find out how many people have been at the Saxon court from different regions, what were their functions, where did they came from, and so on. And one of the early examples with people from North America at the Saxon court is, for example, here in our media presentation with Okcharincha and Tuski Stanaki, who were taken from California region, and in English, captain just took them, presented them in whole Europe, and came at least to Saxony and tried to sell them to the Saxon or Polish king. And it took a while. We were presented at pubs and so on, at public spaces, and at least they were sold. We don't know all the details, but they lived time here in Dresden. They learned German. They also became Christian, but actually this was a small problem because they were baptized as Protestant Christians, while the king was Catholic, and he didn't like that very much. So because of that, he just said, okay, we had to go another place. He had also a place in Poland where he was king, and where we just brought there. And we just know from the sources that they have been living there at the court for several years. One of them died there, and a couple of months later, the other one fled, and then we don't know anything else. So this is also something which is still combined with a question mark, and this goes on for several other examples. So here we are at the 17th and 18th century, but also in the 19th century we have different forms of presentation at Dresden. If it's, for example, the early presentation of groups from Greenland, at Moritzburg, it's near Dresden, where the Saxon court also had a castle, and there was a lake where they had to present themselves. And this is kind of in the year 1820s, early form of that, which would later on be at the Dresden Zoo in the 1870s. And of course, the circus also used forms of presentation of people from other countries or regions. Stereotype, also concentrating of small parts of what would be typical for the people. For example, here the Arabs from Sahara, and another place where also people could be seen is, of course, the fair trades, and this is, for example, the so-called Vogelwiese. And here we have an example of how we try to deal with a problem to show things without showing them. because this is something we already discussed beforehand. How should we deal with images in the exhibition? How many things can we show, and what shouldn't come into the exhibition, because it could be problematic for people who have to suffer from racism, who could be re-traumatized. And so we had long discussions before in our team, what can we show, and if we want to show it, how could we show it? And you can see it both here and here on the table. We try to find a solution to hide the item and just give a possibility to look at it. So the material which has the problems of, for example, racist speech, because it's written on the object, or presentations of naked people, or other offending visualizations should be marked in the exhibition. It's always with orange, and I don't know if you could see it when we came into the exhibition room. There was also a text explaining how we people could read the exhibition itself. So there are some information about this orange, which means, okay, be careful. This is something which might affect you in any way. Or the blue, you maybe have seen outside, but also here in exhibition refers to all the artistic additions to the exhibition by the Städtische Kunsthaus, the art gallery, and also some information, for example, how we write things in the texts, because we decided that there would be necessary to explain special words. What do they mean? What is colonialism? What are stereotypes? And so on. And we didn't want to put it all in those main texts at the walls. So what we tried to do is to give a handout for people here in the exhibition. This is something the guests of our exhibition can take with them home. And here are all of the words in the exhibition which maybe need an explanation. It's kind of a vocabulary, and all those words which are explained here are also marked in a special way in our text, so that you can just see, okay, it's underlined, maybe I should look in this booklet and get some more information. You can just take a look if you want. So there are several such things we tried to get in this exhibition. Also quite interesting program. Additional to the exhibition, we have a small booklet instead of a classical flyer, which presents all the things you could do during the exhibition. It's almost over now, but with different possibilities to go, for example, through the city, accompanied by people who came to Dresden for different reasons. Maybe they are refugees, or came because of work interests or something else, and have their own point of view on the exhibition and on living in Dresden, and maybe also experience regarding racism and stereotypes. And this is something we just wanted to offer in addition to the exhibition, so that it just doesn't only occur here. This is something which was in history, but now it is something which also has to do with ourselves now. And this is the main question we also have on this mirror in the middle of the exhibition room. So if you come in the room, you can see this question: what does this have to do with me? It's nothing that just occurred in history, but we still have traces into our daily life until now. So here in the beginning, we also have some examples of how other places in Dresden had to deal with the subject of the presentation of people. And the panopticons were also one place. I just read that, for example, in Brussels, the Castans Panopticum, or Musée Castan, was the main place where those human zoos took place. And we also had several here in Dresden, and found out that, for example, to the Panopticum in Dresden, we had some items in our collection. We have a problem that we don't have so many items regarding the human zoos in our own collection. It's really a less collection there, and the things we have here is connected to a man called Rudolph Pohl, and he created those wax figures for panopticons. So we have, for example, here the colors to get the wax colored so that you get an impression of people from different countries. And we have photos which are connected to his workshop, and where we could find some traces to the human zoos. And for example, here we have such a barrier for the people depicting how he offered in a catalogue the different wax figures with people from different countries or continents, and there we find out some interesting information regarding this man here. So if you want, you can just take a look here. And it's something we also have in our book, MenschenAnSchauen. In the first place, it is just the description that this should be a man from the Congo. So this is something quite anonymous. And Christina Ludwig started to go further in the sources, and just found out that there is a source Rudolph Pohl used. So it's actually this one. This is in profile, and this is the other one. Because we didn't know how did he work. Did he, for example, invited people from the human zoos to his atelier, or did he go to the zoo itself to meet people and maybe work after living people? And here we have the example that he used this image. And this is several years before he produced it. It's the description of a travel in the Congo. And the history back there is that this time so many people were killed during the reign of a Belgian king. And he tried then time to colonialize the whole region. And during these expeditions which were made, there was also a meeting with this one here. It's the son of the king of Chumbiri, it's called that way. And this son, this prince, is just depicted in this description of a journey. And this picture was taken from Rudolph Pohl to create this man. But he lost his identity. Now it's no longer the prince of, but it's just a man from Congo. And this is something we have to deal with. We have, now have people who stand for a whole generation, a region, and so on, and they lose their individuality. And now it's the question, should we give them back their biography? And this is something which could be done here in this example. So this may be as a preface to the history of the human zoos in Dresden, because then we can start here with a presentation of what happened at the Dresden Zoo. So the history traces back to 1861 when the Dresden Zoo was opened. And in the beginning, we of course had to finance a lot. The new area, all the animals that had to come to Dresden and so on. So actually the zoo needed money to progress with its work. And so there was a decision that the then time popular possibility to show such human zoos could also be presented in Dresden. And we found out that in 1878 the first presentation of a human zoo had taken place in Dresden, in the Dresden Zoological Garden. It started with a group of 6 people from Greenland, and actually those small shoes from a child are one of his items of the first exhibition. It's quite interesting because these shoes came into the collection of the Ethnological Museum in Dresden in the 1880s. But they already had question marks one time, and they weren't shown publicly later on because they couldn't believe that they were from Greenland. Because wooden shoes aren't that typical for that region. And in the preparation of this exhibition and of a book, the colleague Petra Martin from the Ethnological Museum did some research, and that was quite helpful for us because since we had now list of all the exhibitions which had taken place at the Dresden Zoo, she just checked their inventory books if there could be a connection between the things which came into the collection there and the date of the exhibition. And she found about more than 300 items in their collections that could be traced back to this, to different exhibitions at the Dresden Zoo or to the impresarios which organized them. And this pair of shoes came into the collection with the help of the director of the zoo, who actually had been learning at Hagenbeck. I know this is one question which shall be debated later on, and he had those networks and organized later on after his father, the director before, after his father died, the next human zoos, and he gave this pair of shoes to the collection. And now was the debate, okay, is it something which really had a connection to the exhibition itself or to the people who were exhibited? And we now believe at the moment that the people who had been presented at several places in Europe, that they just got those shoes for the 2 girls which accompanied the family during their stay in Europe, because these are quite typical shoes for several European regions, Denmark, Netherlands, northern parts of Germany, Scandinavia, and so on. So this is the most possible answer, and they don't have a lot traces of that they have been worn. So this is maybe the explanation why they also have been left at Dresden after the whole family and the 2 men went back to Greenland. So I already explained that we started in 1878 with the exhibitions here in Dresden, and we know now that there have been more than 70 exhibitions at the Dresden Zoo, about 60 of them with people from different regions. The other ones were classical presentations of that we then time called freak shows or something like that. And We have now, for example, here ceramics, and there in the back some weapons and a drum, which also are connected to one of those exhibitions in 1892, which leads us to an actual project we have, because we had the problem, how could we get some voices of the people who were exhibited one time in the exhibition, or at least from the people who know that this have been their ancestors. And in this case, we were successful. That means these objects, it's actually more than 50 in the collections of Ethnological Museum here in Dresden, belong to the exhibition of Kalina from South America, Guyana. And there's an association, Association Moliko Alepo, and we could take contact to the president and ask how should we deal with all those objects? What is your point of view? Is it possible to make, for example, an interview and to get it in the exhibition? And yes, we were successful, and this is something we try now to get in the exhibition in the last weeks, and also online especially, so that that will be last, even though the exhibition closes in a couple of weeks. And for us it was really quite interesting, because the ceramics itself or the weapons, they don't speak for themselves. You always need explanation, especially if you don't use any images. And there are a lot of them, especially in Paris, regarding this special exhibition, because the group had the first stop in Paris for several weeks. After that, they traveled to Brussels, later on to Berlin, and the last station of the European tour was Dresden in 1892, end of July until mid of August. And more than 50 items were left at the Dresden Zoo and sold to the Ethnological Museum, and are still there. And it was also Petra Martin who could see by checking the inventories that there is this connection to this exhibition of the Kalina at the Dresden Zoo. And 2 weeks ago we had the interview with Corinne Toka-Devilliers, also with the help of Thorsten König, who was so kind to translate everything for us. And in a couple of weeks we will have this online with the information of how this presentation of their ancestors still influences their culture today, and their feelings, and what they're doing now. So we now know that in August they will create a monument, or present a monument in Guyana, which reminds two of these people which have been presented in Europe, one in 1892 and the other one already in 1882. So this was for us something really important, to get at least one actual voice in the exhibition with some more information. And we are very thankful that there was also interest to work together with us, and we hope that there will also some more information in future, because we know that when the presentation of those Kalina in 1892 took place, already 8 people died in Paris, and there was still one person missing, which maybe died in Berlin, as far as we now could find out, because of the advertisements in the newspapers from that time. And so this is the next step, that there can be done further research also from the Association, so that they can go further in their presentations and to find their own way for monship. Okay, so this is the first information for the Dresden Zoo and the presentations there. We try here to show which concepts were used. For example, the new media of the time in 19th century. We had the possibilities of print of postcards and so on, which also made it possible to deal with stereotypes, to give the impression of a special view on other people, and to reach a mass of people. Since at least all those postcards, for example, were sold in the zoos and reached a lot of people there, and can still be found in private collections. So I had it several times now, the last time at our museums night, that people told me, I think we have something like that at home. So that's quite interesting, because now we can get this step, but people start to think about this and get in mind, okay, there is something, and there could be the problem with this thing. I have in my own collection, what should I do with it? And that's quite interesting. So the media has a special role in producing all those stereotypes, which still are present in our point of view and our used view on other things. And sometimes it's, of course, a little bit difficult what to do with things in collections. And we have an example here with those carver bowls from Samoa. And part of the presentation of people in the zoos was, of course, that they had a show program, and which meant that they would, for example, produce things during their stay. And the ethnological collections have a problem that they sometimes don't know if the items are from the meant original place, or if it's something which was produced in Europe. So we have this example here with this small bowl and the bigger one. Actually, this bigger one is a quite typical for Samoa region with this size for a ritual where kava was produced. And we also found this one with no traces of use. And it was, I guess, a Dresden man or woman who later on gave it to the collection. And now they still ask themselves, is it something which really comes from Samoa, or is it maybe something which had been produced as a souvenir at the zoo? And this is something which also leads to questions regarding the items in the collection. Is it really something from the place XY, or something which has been produced and is just a souvenir? And this is also something regarding provenance research, which then has to be done. At least we have here some expressions for the show program, where we try to show that we of course use stereotypes to describe different people who were presented at the zoo, and that we also had a range. So some regions were connected with quite positive stereotypes. Others were concentrated on, for example, erotic and sexualized presentations, and other ones dealt with items or descriptions like we are the civilized, and the other ones are kind of natural or uncivilized people. And this is something we try to describe here at this place. And also that the programs were presented in a quite special way. So we have here a poster for the Dresden Zoo and the program there. And it's a quite interesting combination of things at the same poster. So we start with a presentation of John Hagenbeck's exhibition of people from Sudan, if they came from there, or let's say the region of Sudan and surrounding. when there's a concert of a philharmonic orchestra, and there's also fireworks. So it's quite a special combination of really different things. The presentation of people because of their origin is in the same stage than a firework. And this is something we have to take in mind and to realize how we shall deal with this, and how we have to change our own way of reading such posters. Here's, besides also one of those artistic works we have included in our exhibition. It's quite interesting. It's the work of Raj Kamal Kallon. She used a quite popular book, which was presented in several volumes, The People of the Earth, where in a then time typical way, people from different regions of the world were presented together with photographs. And she used the illustrations to give them a new meaning and a new point of view. So she just painted on those images, and in her intention, she tried to give them an individual point of view and an own biography, which no longer is something they have to be forced to sit there and get photographed and get presented to a wide public. So it's a quite interesting work. It's actually more than 300 images she produced. So the ones which are presented here in original, it's just 10 pictures. The other ones, a lot of them can be seen here in a digital way. Something I just want to mention is another work of Peggy Booth. It's in the room we have here in the background. It's a work which tries to deal with the responsibility of museums on looking on their own collections and on their own way to deal with colonial heritage and their own collections. So maybe if you want, you can just take later on your time and take a look at this. And this is also a room we try to install here in the exhibition, which can be used, for example, by communities. We just wanted to invite them to use this place to have workshops or meetings or something else, and always have a possibility to also close the door. So that's no problem if you want to do something here and have the impression of, okay, we need a private space, then we can just go in here and close the door, and that's no problem. And else we also tried to do all the work of, for example, with school classes and so on, here in this room, to always have a possibility that, for example, the public also sees what happens here and maybe takes part of the discussion of the whole topic. So it should be something public. And because of that, we also have just a few walls here in the exhibition. It's quite open, this space, to give insight. Nothing should be hidden, but to give an open view and to invite people to discuss and to look at each other. And this looking at each other is, of course, an invitation that also then time could be from both sides. So we often have the problem that there's just the view of how people in the, for example, Dresden Zoo looked at the people which were invited to come invited. But we, of course, have some other possibilities that there is communication between the groups or several members of the groups. And we have, for example, here a picture from a collection Radauer. Back there. From supposedly the 1928. there had been an exhibition at Dresden, and at the same time there was a small exhibition at the Dresden Zoo. And here we can see how the visitors of the Dresden Zoo have more or less contact with the people which stay there for, I think it was 1 or 2 weeks. And this is one example of where sometimes the barriers aren't that high. Normally you always talk about the fences between the visitors and the people who had been exhibited. But here we have some other examples also with the items which are in this showcase here. Also from the Ethnological Museum here in Dresden. Here it is quite interesting that they came to the collection in the 1820s, and later on nobody knew what kind of items these were and how they should be used or presented. And I don't know, Kalmyks? They were ones who originally used these items, and when there came a group in 1897 to Dresden, there were 2 priests part of this group, and they were invited to the museum to just take a look on these items and to explain the people or the scientific personnel at the museum how these items had to be used in a ritual context. And for us it was quite interesting when there had been found some descriptions in the inventory, because you can just come around and take a look. There were done some drawings in the inventory, and there is explained how these items have to be presented, and we now used this description from then time, from 1897, to just present it as the priests told they had to be presented. So this is now a quite interesting connection between the exhibition then time and the specialists who were invited to the museum to give their information and knowledge to the people here. And now we try to do as they wanted to. And another thing which is from our own collection is this little doll, which I found in our collection. And in the beginning it was nameless. And I later on found the description of a woman who gave it to the museum. And it was quite interesting, because there she referred that she got this doll in 1906 during a human zoo in the Dresden Zoo. It was a gift from her uncle and her aunt, who worked here in Dresden. She and her family, they had been as visitors in Dresden and went to the Dresden Zoo because of the exhibition there. And her uncle organized that one of the members of the show just handed this doll over to the little girl. She was quite scared that there came tall man to her, and she describes, okay, there came this black man, and she was just 6 years old, had never been involved in something like that. But when she describes, okay, and then he just showed me also the mommy and the small kids, and we just became friends. And this is something now connected to this doll, which before had just been a doll in our collection, and now we know that there is a connection also to one of those exhibitions here at the Dresden Zoo. So we were quite lucky to find this information after 1980. Yeah, these were the information to the human zoos at the Dresden Zoo, but of course, as I mentioned, we had some additional places where similar presentations took place. And one of the, for Dresden, important places is the Circus Sarasani, which has until now his home at Dresden. And here we try to present how also the circus was an important place to present other people connected with stereotypes and also racist forms of presentation. Since we still also want to discuss a little bit, I would just take now a short view on other things. We try here to show also possibilities of how the stereotypes which were part of us human zoos find other media. For example, the film in the 1920s, where stereotypes also find another way to be presented. For example, we have this drum in the background, which was part of a collection of the Ethnological Museum. And when one of the impresarios presented exhibition at the Human Zoo, he at the same time produced a film at the Dresden Zoo and asked the Ethnological Museum to give some items as a lending to use it for the creation of a film. And so we had also people who were part of the Human Zoo who took part as actors in that film. So there we have a quite interesting connection where it goes in another form of presentation where were used those known principles of presenting people, and they were just transferred in the new media. So this was quite interesting for us with those connections, and also regarding the networks which are behind this, especially with the museum's collections, which were used for such contexts. And at least it's a small view on how it goes on in the later times, especially the second half of the 20th century. And with some traces to the recent years. Of course, we have different phenomena which deal with all those subjects. Quite popular in these regions are Wild West shows because of Karl May as a quite important author for this region who wrote a lot of novels which took place both in North America, North Africa, different Asian countries. And they are quite popular until this day and are connected especially with a city near Dresden, Radebeul. There was still a villa where he lived. And there's also a museum which we cooperated together with for this exhibition. And there until today are different exhibitions and festivals connected to the images which were produced also by Karl May and of course of the several media since the 19th century, dealing especially with subjects of Wild West images. And this is something which, of course, is discussed more and more in those days. How can we deal with this interest in Wild West subjects and at the same time have respect in front of rituals and costumes and other things connected to the original people and indigenous people. So this is something we try to ask here in this part. And of course, we asked ourselves, okay, how did those stereotypes and racist views have something to do with us today. And especially violence was something we tried to figure out in different ways. If it's the demonstrations we had here in Dresden in the last years with different forms of racist sayings and so on, or crime and violence. Examples are here with Marwa El-Sherbini and Georges Gomondai, who died because of racist violence. And those are things we try to show and to tell the people, okay, here's something where all those stereotypes we learned about generations still have influence on how we deal with people and how we deal, for example, with violence and crime. And for us, it's quite interesting also to get in some actual points of views, which is something we can present here. It's a project which was developed during the exhibition. Several women with different backgrounds were invited to interviews. And we always have here the question of a point of view. How do we view at others, and with which views we have to deal with? And these women just tried to explain what experience they made here in Dresden in the last years, since we came to Dresden because we were refugees or something like that. And since we have are non-white or have traditional clothing or something like that, had experienced special views from the public on themselves. And this is quite interesting to just take a look on those interviews, which can also be looked at via YouTube. And this is one effect of this exhibition, that we also can just give a voice to these people living here in Dresden and their experiences they made here. So this is an introduction to the exhibition. Thank you so much for listening. And